Welcome back to the Deep Dive, the show built on the premise that, well, successful value creation really requires successful value delivery.
Mm-hmm.
We take all those dense stacks of strategic documents, the market research, all the analysis you send us, and we try to give you the shortcut to true expertise.
And today, we are tackling the foundational architecture of value delivery.
Okay.
It's a space where there's just massive strategic opportunity and, equally massive cost just sitting there.
So this deep dive is dedicated to understanding the complex mechanisms of integrated marketing channels.
Right, and developing this concept that marketers call the value network.
Okay, let's unpack this immediately because the term value network that signals we are zooming far beyond just, the final sale.
Way beyond.
We're looking at the whole ecosystem.
Right.
The entire thing required to get a product or a service to the consumer.
Exactly. It means you're examining the flow of value all the way upstream to your supplier's supplier.
And then all the way downstream.
All the way to your distributor's customers. It is the ultimate holistic supply chain examination.
So where do we start with something that big?
Well, often the simplest way to really grasp the strategic power of rethinking the value network is to look at a moment of, catastrophic channel disruption.
Ah, okay. A case study.
We have to start with the specific case of Reed Hastings and Netflix challenging the brick-and-mortar behemoth Blockbuster back in 1997.
Oh, this is a classic.
Right.
Blockbuster was absolutely dominant, right? All based on these high-traffic retail locations.
Totally. But Hastings had two key insights. First, the new DVD format was small, light, perfect for mail.
And second.
Second, the traditional rental channel was, frankly, deeply punitive to the customer.
You mean the late fees?
Exactly. Blockbuster's business model was, ironically, completely dependent on late fees.
It was a massive revenue stream for them, hugely profitable.
But it generated this enormous, deep-seated customer resentment. Netflix attacked this directly. They came in with a truly novel distribution scheme built on simplicity and trust.
So, modest subscription fees.
Sometimes as low as $9 a month.
And the core promise of no late fees.
That was the killer app.
The convenience factor alone was just revolutionary. No more driving to a store, hoping a new release was even in stock.
Or rushing back at 11:59 p.m. to avoid a $5 charge.
Right. And you had this deep catalog, well over 100,000 titles, and it's delivered right to your door, mostly by overnight mail.
But the disruption, and this is key, it wasn't just physical, was it?
No, it was also deeply technical.
Absolutely. The technical edge is what really solidified their value proposition. It became a critical part of their value network. They developed this proprietary software.
Which let you search for obscure films, something a physical store just couldn't replicate easily.
Right. But more importantly, it helps customers discover new content.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because the source material highlights the strategic investment they made in that tech.
The $1 million contest.
The $1 million contest, aimed at improving their recommendation algorithms.
It was a massive crowdsourced challenge that drew thousands of global entrants. And it dramatically enhanced their software. I think the estimate was it made the recommendations twice as effective.
Think about that for a second. They were selling physical DVDs, these little plastic discs. But they were investing millions in data science and software. They knew the true value they were delivering was convenience plus curation.
That's it. Blockbuster was selling access. Netflix was selling a customized experience.
But the value network, it never stops evolving. Competition eventually figured out the physical distribution model.
You mean Redbox?
Redbox. Once they introduced those low-cost self-service DVD kiosks in, every McDonald's and grocery store, Netflix had to pivot, and pivot hard.
That new channel competition forced Netflix to change their own value delivery mechanism all over again. They realized instantaneous delivery was the future.
Which led to the massive emphasis on streaming video.
Exactly. And while they were smart, they maintained their legacy physical channel for a long time. The research notes they still had over 11 million DVD subscribers at one point. The future of their value network was clearly moving.
From physical logistics to purely digital streaming.
And the lesson for us is that channel design is a living, breathing entity. It has to constantly react to competition and, to major technical leaps.
Okay, so let's move from that fantastic example of disruption to the foundation. What exactly is a marketing channel?
Formally, marketing channels are defined as sets of interdependent organizations.
Interdependent, so they all rely on each other.
Right. They're all involved in the process of making a product or service available for use or consumption, They are the pathway a product travels from the factory floor to the end user.
And critically, they are enormously expensive.
And when you say expensive, I mean, we are talking about staggering numbers that often surprise people.
The source material notes that in the U.S., channel members collectively earn margins that account for, what was it?
An astonishing 30% to 50% of the ultimate selling price.
30 to 50%. That is probably the most important number in this entire deep dive.
I think it is, because it fundamentally changes how you view channel strategy. It means your channel design isn't some secondary logistics issue handled by middle management.
No, it's a primary strategic decision.
It dictates your profitability, your pricing, your entire competitive position, far more than a typical advertising budget ever will.
And it tells you why channel efficiency, or, the lack of it, can make or break an entire industry. So who are these expensive, critical players? You can categorize the channel intermediaries into 3 distinct types.
Right, and it's all based on their role and specifically whether they actually take ownership of the product.
So first we have merchants.
These are the organizations that buy, take legal title to, and then resell the merchandise. This is your classic wholesaler and your classic retailer. They own the inventory while it's in their possession.
Okay, next are agents.
Agents are like search engines for customers. They negotiate on behalf of the producer, but, and this is the key difference, they do not take title to the goods.
So they never actually own the inventory.
Never. This includes brokers and sales agents who are usually compensated via commission.
And third, the facilitators.
Right. These are the organizations that assist in the distribution process, but they don't take title or negotiate sales. Think transportation companies, independent warehouses, banks that handle payments.
Even ad agencies?
Even the advertising agencies that enable the promotion flow. They basically grease the channel wheels without ever becoming owners.
To really understand the utility of these players, we have to look at the core functions channels perform.
And the source material really emphasizes this point. It's not if these functions are performed, they all have to be completed, but who performs them.
And this includes everything from gathering market info to promotion, negotiation, financing.
Risk-taking.
Right. And to illustrate the complexity of assigning all these tasks, we can look at the movement of goods and information through what the source calls the 5 flows.
And they use the comprehensive example of high-value industrial equipment, forklift trucks specifically. These flows define all the interactions between the supplier, the manufacturer, the dealers, and finally, the customer.
Okay, so let's start with the 3 forward flows, moving from the company down to the customer. First is the physical flow.
That's the easy one. It's the actual storage and movement of the truck itself from the factory to a distribution center to the dealer, and finally to the customer's warehouse.
Then you have the title flow,
which is purely about the transfer of ownership documents. It's a legal flow, ensuring the dealer and then the customer officially take possession.
And third is the promotion flow.
Right, and this moves the persuasive communication, the advertising, the sales pitches, the product literature, through the manufacturer's agency to the dealer, and ultimately to the end customer.
Okay, then, crucially, we have the 2 backward flows, moving from the customer back up the chain, the ordering flow.
This is when the dealer or the distributor places an order back up the chain to replenish their stock or maybe specify a custom truck.
And finally, the payment flow.
The customer pays the dealer, and that monetary value flows back up the chain, often through banks and financial intermediaries, to the manufacturer and their suppliers.
So what's the big strategic takeaway from mapping all of this? Why embrace this complexity instead of just, cutting out the middleman and selling direct?
The core insight, the driver of the whole value network, is efficiency through specialization.
Meaning what?
Meaning, if an intermediary, let's say a specialized bank, can perform a function like financing more efficiently and at a lower cost than the manufacturer could do it themselves,
Then you let them do it.
you shift that function to the intermediary. It ultimately lowers the total channel cost. And ideally, that translates into lower prices or higher value for the consumer. That is the fundamental justification for the entire channel structure.
That sets the stage perfectly. Now we get to a foundational strategic decision about activating the market. Push versus pull strategies.
Right. A push strategy means the manufacturer is focused on aggressively incentivizing and motivating its channel partners.
So you're pushing the product down the channel.
Exactly. You use your sales force and significant trade promotion, money discounts, cooperative advertising allowances to induce wholesalers and retailers to carry, promote, and effectively push the product toward the end user.
And when does that work best? What are the strategic conditions?
It thrives when the consumer has low brand loyalty, or the product is an impulse item, or the brand choice is often made right there, standing in the aisle.
So the manufacturer's relying on the retailer to close the sale.
Entirely. Versus the pull strategy, where you basically bypass the intermediary, at least at first, and
Right.
go straight to the end user.
So in a pull strategy, the manufacturer is investing heavily in consumer advertising, social media, all of that.
All targeted directly at the end user. The goal is to build such strong brand preference and consumer demand that customers march into the stores and demand the product.
Which creates a vacuum.
It creates a vacuum, effectively pulling the intermediaries into ordering and stocking the product from you.
So if you're a Coca-Cola or a Nike, you're spending millions to make sure the consumer walks into a shop asking for your product by name.
Right. And that works best when brand loyalty is high. The purchase is a high involvement one, and consumers have already decided on the brand before they even step foot in the store.
But, I mean, high-performing companies today rarely choose just one, right?
Oh, almost never. They employ a sophisticated blend. They recognize that a strong pull campaign drives traffic to the stores, but you still need a dedicated push strategy to ensure the intermediaries actually stock, display, and prioritize your product effectively.
And all this complexity leads us, I guess, inevitably to hybrid channels or multi-channel marketing. The reality is that a single firm often needs multiple approaches to succeed.
Multi-channel marketing is when a single firm consciously uses two or more channels to reach different customer segments or even different need states for the same buyer.
The classic HP example comes to mind.
Perfect example. They use a direct sales force for their large strategic accounts, telemarketing for medium-sized accounts,
Direct mail for the small, simple transactions.
and then they rely on retailers and the internet for specialty items or very small buyers.
It's just smart segmentation. You're optimizing your investment. You don't want to send a highly paid technical sales rep to manage a small account that could be handled by a 1-cent web transaction.
And this needs global coordination. Look at Philips, the electronics giant. They rely on mass merchants, large chains, specialty stores all over the world.
That sounds like chaos to manage.
It could be. But to manage the sheer volume and complexity of dealing with global retailers like a Best Buy or a Carrefour, they created this highly focused, customer-centric organization with dedicated global key account managers.
So one person is the point of contact.
Exactly. It ensures a unified strategic approach to their most important channel partners, even across different continents.
But isn't this exact model, using multiple channels like direct sales and retailers, just an invitation for internal conflict?
Oh, absolutely.
The source warns that channel segments often end up stealing each other's accounts, right? It leads to a turf war.
That is the single greatest tension in multi-channel systems, and the sources stress that conflict management is just paramount. However,
The benefits outweigh the risks.
usually, yes.
Yeah.
Provided the firm manages it correctly. Multi-channel integration is necessary because, frankly, customers demand it. They expect to be able to order a product online and return it to a physical store.
Or check online inventory before they drive to a branch.
And the payoff for getting that integration right is massive. The outdoor supplier REI found that customers who use dual channels online and in-store spend significantly more than single-channel shoppers.
And those who use 3 channels spend even more.
Exactly. The integrated customer is by far the most profitable customer.
Okay, we've established the 4 moving channels. Let's talk about a growing strategic necessity, reverse flow channels, and the focus on sustainability.
This is all about managing the product after the sale, reuse, refurbishing, recycling, disposal.
It's a complex logistical challenge, but it's also being driven more and more by regulation and, consumer demand.
And one truly fantastic novel system detailed in our source material was launched by Waste Management. It's called Greenopolis.
Right, with the mantra, rethink, recycle, reward.
What's so fascinating is how they made the system interactive and rewarding. It consists of these proprietary interactive on-street recycling kiosks
Linked to reprocessing facilities, consumer reward systems.
and an online social community. The mechanism is key. The technology lets consumers track their specific contribution.
So when they use the kiosk, they can see the rewards they're earning from partner companies. like CPG companies.
Exactly. And those CPG companies, in turn, can put the Greenopolis symbol on their packaging and actually measure their precise share of material recovery from that specific channel.
So it turns this traditionally, dreary, low-involvement task of recycling into a gamified, measurable, and rewarded activity.
It transforms a pure logistical burden into a potential marketing and relationship-building tool for everyone involved.
That's brilliant.
Moving on, we also have to consider channels for intangible offerings, the service sector channels.
So no physical goods.
No physical goods. They have to be structured entirely around proximity, accessibility, and expertise.
The Cleveland Clinic, one of the nation's most respected hospital systems, offers a perfect illustration of a highly structured service channel. Their delivery system is their physical channel.
It's a classic hub-and-spoke model. The main campus in Cleveland is the major tertiary care hub.
Okay.
Then they have 15 primary care centers spread across the suburbs for daily access, plus 8 extended hospitals in Northeast Ohio. And crucially, they've expanded globally major operations in Florida, Toronto, Abu Dhabi.
And like any modern channel, they're leveraging technology too.
Of course. Secure online health services, patient portals, physician consultation platforms. They've even partnered with tech giants like Microsoft and Google to expand their internet capabilities.
All to ensure continuity of care, regardless of where the patient or the specialist is located.
And whether you are designing a channel for physical goods or intangible services, the starting point has to be a rigorous analysis of customer needs.
Right. You're designing channels based on what consumers prefer regarding price, assortment, convenience, and their specific shopping goals.
And to structure that analysis, marketers rely on the 5 service outputs. These are the specific, measurable benefits that customers seek from a channel.
Okay, so the first one is lot size.
Right. How many units can a customer purchase on a single occasion? A large corporation buying a fleet of vehicles needs a channel designed for massive lot sizes.
Whereas an individual consumer buying a single light bulb needs a channel optimized for a lot size of 1.
Exactly. Second is waiting and delivery time. This is the channel's latency. The quicker the customer can get the product, the better.
And this single factor drives just massive investment in rapid shipping and instantaneous delivery models across e-commerce.
Third is spatial convenience. How easy is it for the customer to access the channel?
The source compares Toyota and Lexus here.
It's a great comparison. Toyota offers greater spatial convenience because there are simply more Toyota dealerships spread across more locations. It raises costs for Toyota, but it saves customers significant search and transportation time.
Fourth, product variety, the breadth of the assortment.
Generally, customers prefer greater choice. It increases the probability of finding exactly what they need.
But the key strategic challenge here is balancing that desire with the risk of creating choice overload, right? Which can paralyze decision-making.
Absolutely. And finally, service backup.
These are the value-adding services, like credit, delivery, installation, repairs.
Technical support. The more backup a channel provides, the more work it's performing for the customer.
And the essential strategic insight that ties all 5 of these outputs together is this. Providing greater service outputs increases channel costs and therefore raises prices.
That's the core trade-off. Discount success stories like Walmart, Dollar General, Family Dollar, they are built entirely on persuading the consumer to accept lower levels of service output.
So, smaller lot sizes, less specialized service backup, less variety.
All in exchange for drastically lower prices. The channel designer has to determine which combination of outputs their target segment values most.
So once we know the desired outputs, we move to evaluating channel alternatives by the number of intermediaries. And there are 3 classic strategies here.
Starting with maximum control, we have exclusive distribution. This means severely limiting the number of intermediaries.
Often granting exclusive dealing rights.
Right, because the producer wants absolute control over the quality of service, the brand image, and the pricing. New luxury cars, high-end designer apparel, they all use this model.
And the case of Gucci is a sharp illustration of using this to restore brand equity. Their image was getting tarnished by, well, widespread licensing and distribution through too many third-party discounters.
So to restore that luster and exclusivity, they made a very harsh strategic decision. They ended nearly all their third-party contracts and instead opened their own corporately owned stores.
Which must have been a massive upfront cost.
Huge. But they absorbed that cost because the control was necessary to signal premium value and rebuild the brand's high fashion credibility.
Okay, so at the other end of the spectrum is intensive distribution.
This is pure volume and availability, placing goods in as many outlets as possible.
This strategy is reserved for convenience items that consumers buy frequently, often on impulse, and just expect to find everywhere.
Snack foods, chewing gum, soft drinks, newspapers. The goal is to minimize search time and ensure the product is always within arm's reach. You want to maximize total coverage.
And the strategic sweet spot for many firms is selective distribution.
Right. This means using only some willing intermediaries. It allows the company to achieve adequate market coverage, but with significantly more control and at a lower total cost than intensive distribution.
And our sources provide a phenomenal case study in tightly controlled selective distribution, SDIHL.
The manufacturer of high-quality handheld outdoor power equipment. Their channel strategy is just a masterclass in strategic non-negotiation.
Walk us through the SDHL model because it really defines their brand position.
SDIHL's non-negotiable rule is that they do not sell through mass merchants like Lowe's or Home Depot.
No catalogs, no direct internet sales.
None. They maintain this rigid structure to protect their core value proposition, which is service and expertise.
So how does the product actually get to the customer?
They sell exclusively to 12 centers in the U.S., 6 independent distributors, and 6 SDAO-owned centers. These centers then distribute to a massive network of over 8,000 carefully selected servicing retail dealers nationwide.
And the word servicing is critical.
It's everything. It ensures that every customer who walks in to buy a chainsaw or a leaf blower is dealing with a dedicated, knowledgeable expert who can explain the product, assemble it properly, and service it long-term.
And this high-touch, controlled approach justifies their premium price point and maintains brand integrity.
Even if it limits their potential volume compared to selling through mass merchants, it's a perfect illustration of choosing control and service output, the backup over sheer volume and spatial convenience.
Finally, in designing these channels, we have to rely on quantifiable metrics, specifically economic criteria and break-even analysis.
This is where we move past the qualitative arguments, and we compare the high fixed costs versus the variable costs of different channel structures.
And we're looking at the critical comparison between using a highly controlled company sales force versus relying on a flexible manufacturer's sales agency.
The sales agency is attractive because it has a very low fixed cost. You don't pay salaries, rent, insurance, training for the staff.
You just pay a commission.
You simply pay the agency a commission, a high variable cost, but only when they make a sale.
Whereas the company sales force requires a significant upfront investment. Salaries, office space, training, benefits. It's a much higher fixed cost base.
But once those costs are absorbed, the company's variable cost per sale is much lower because your internal salespeople typically earn a lower commission percentage than an external agency.
So graphically, we can identify a crucial break-even sales point, which the source calls SB.
Right, and if the company anticipates sales volume falling below that point, SB, the flexible, commission-based manufacturer's agency is the financially superior, lower-cost choice.
But if projected sales volume is expected to rise sharply above that break-even point, the scale justifies the large fixed investment.
And the lower variable cost of the company's sales force makes it the vastly more profitable alternative. This quantitative analysis is why sales agents are favored by smaller firms, or large firms entering small, new, low-volume territories.
So after the design phase, the challenge shifts to channel management. Intermediaries are truly the company's face to the world.
Think about the experience you have at a McDonald's franchise or a Mercedes-Benz dealership.
You have to select them, train them, and motivate them as true partners.
Producers need rigorous criteria for selection: financial stability, service reputation, cooperativeness. Once they're selected, capability building through training is essential.
Our sources cite Microsoft here.
Right. Microsoft requires its third-party service engineers to complete comprehensive courses and pass certification exams, granting them the status of Microsoft Certified Professionals.
Which is a powerful form of motivation. It's built on recognizing their capability.
It is. But the ultimate goal is sustained cooperation, which often requires exerting influence. This brings us to the 5 fundamental types of channel power a manufacturer can use to alter an intermediary's behavior.
Okay, we can categorize them into hard and soft power. The hardest power is coercive power.
This is explicitly threatening to withdraw resources, reduce margins, or just terminate the relationship if the intermediary doesn't comply.
It's effective for short-term compliance, but
it inherently breeds resentment and long-term instability.
Next is reward power.
This is offering specific, tangible benefits. Higher margins, special allowances, preferential delivery in exchange for performance. It's better than coercion. But the intermediary learns to expect a reward for every single request, which just raises the manufacturer's costs over time.
Okay, now we move to the soft powers. Legitimate power.
This is the simplest one. Requesting behavior that is explicitly warranted under the terms of the existing contract. It relies on the intermediary viewing the manufacturer as the legitimate, authoritative leader of the channel system.
Then we have expert power.
This is when the manufacturer possesses special, valued knowledge that the intermediary recognizes as crucial to their own profitability. For instance, providing advanced sales data or new marketing techniques.
And the softest, but arguably the most potent, long-term power. Referent power.
Right. This is when the manufacturer is so highly respected. Think of brands like IBM, Caterpillar, or Hewlett-Packard, that intermediaries are just proud to be associated with it.
So they willingly cooperate out of prestige and the desire to maintain that partnership.
Exactly.
But let's pause here. If we analyze the strategic trade-off, why would anyone bother with the slow, difficult process of building referent power when coercive power gets you immediate results?
Because the long-term cost of hard power is prohibitive. If you rely on coercion, you are in a constant state of adversarial tension.
Right.
If you rely on reward power, you are constantly increasing your variable costs. Referent power, built on reputation and trust, acts as a massive stabilizer. It reduces conflict naturally and allows the channel to pursue bigger goals without constant managerial oversight.
So it's the long-term superior strategy, even if it requires years of consistent performance to build.
Without a doubt.
And that reframes the entire discussion on partnership. Speaking of which, sophisticated companies today move beyond simple power dynamics to create truly collaborative channel partnerships, often leveraging principles of efficient consumer response, or ECR.
ECR is the collective practice adopted by manufacturers and retailers to organize their relationship for efficiency and shared cost reduction. It has two main pillars, the demand side and the supply side.
So the demand side focuses on joint marketing and merchandising.
Right. Collaborative efforts to stimulate consumer demand and increase shopper traffic for both parties.
While the supply side focuses on optimized logistics.
Collaborative practices in inventory management, delivery schedules, and information sharing to eliminate waste and cut warehousing costs. ECR streamlines the entire process.
It demonstrates that maximizing the profit of the system as a whole is usually more profitable than maximizing one party's profit at the expense of another.
Precisely.
The sources point out that channel strategy is never static. The moment you make a deep channel commitment, you reduce your flexibility to respond to change.
Yet change is the only constant. This brings us to the necessity of channel evolution and modification.
And we have the ultimate painful case study here, Dell's channel midlife crisis.
Oh, this is a good one. Dell fundamentally redefined the PC industry by pioneering the ultra-efficient direct selling model. Telephone, internet,
Customization, low price, built-to-order efficiency. For years, it was unbeatable.
But by 2006, the market shifted. Consumer preference moved back toward wanting to see and touch machines in retail stores.
And competitors like HP and Acer caught up on pricing and logistics. Dell was stuck with a highly optimized direct model that no longer matched consumer expectations.
But the internal failure was actually worse than the external pressure. Their pursuit of ultra-efficiency created a massive customer service crisis.
This is the part about the call centers.
Yes. The management metrics were designed to reward call center employees based entirely on the speed with which they terminated each customer call.
Completely ignoring whether the underlying technical problem was actually resolved.
That's a brutal irony. They built a multi-billion-dollar empire on efficiency, only to have their own channel employees, the face of the brand, actively destroy customer value because they were incentivized to hang up on frustrated callers.
The damage was immense. It forced Dell into a painful fundamental restructuring, requiring them to completely rethink their entire channel strategy and embrace retail channels they had previously mocked.
It's a powerful lesson. Optimization without customer centricity is a direct path to failure.
And this complexity is magnified tenfold when we look at global channel considerations. You can't just export an optimized channel model from the US or Europe and expect it to work everywhere.
Not at all. Take India, which has a massive $322 billion retail market. But the penetration of what we call organized retail hypermarkets, department stores, is still only about 4%.
Meaning the bulk of daily commerce still flows through millions of tiny Kirana stores.
The independent family-run grocery shops. Any firm entering India has to adapt its distribution strategy to manage this decentralized traditional channel, not try to impose a Western big box model.
And this adaptability is precisely why franchising is so successful overseas.
By using master franchisees who acquire rights to a specific territory, the company gains a partner who is inherently more knowledgeable about local laws, customs, and distribution logistics than a foreign headquarters could ever be.
And that localized knowledge fuels the double-digit growth we see for franchises like Subway and Curves in developing markets.
A great example of successful cultural channel adaptation is the UK clothing retailer Topshop.
Right.
They achieved global success by blending English street fashion with reasonable prices and a fun, highly differentiated customer experience.
They offered unique services that acted as channel differentiators, in-store style advisors, their Topshop to-go model.
And even Vespa express delivery for fashion emergencies. They weren't just selling clothes, they were selling an experience and instantaneous gratification tailored to the fast fashion segment.
And by adapting that high-touch, experiential channel model, they found rapid acceptance outside the UK, especially at their flagship store in New York City. We've discussed the players and the strategy. Now let's look at the architecture. Channel systems, integration, and conflict. The fundamental move in modern marketing has been toward achieving control and coordination.
Historically, distribution relied on the conventional marketing channel. The producer, wholesaler, and retailer were all independent entities, each acting to maximize its own profit.
Which inevitably led to constant conflict and reduced the efficiency of the whole system.
Exactly. The modern dominant response to this inefficiency and chaos is the vertical marketing system, or VMS.
Okay, so a VMS integrates the producer, wholesaler, and retailer into a unified system.
Right, where one member, the channel captain, leads. The goal is to control behavior, eliminate destructive conflict, and achieve economies of scale and bargaining power. VMSs are now the dominant mode of distribution across the U.S. consumer market.
And we see three primary flavors of VMS, differentiated by the mechanism of control. First, the corporate VMS.
This is pure single ownership. Successive stages of production and distribution are under the umbrella of one company. The most vivid example is Sherwin-Williams.
They manufacture the paint.
But they also own and operate their 3,300 retail outlets. They control every single aspect of the customer experience, pricing, and service. It's a massive fixed investment for maximum control.
Okay, second, the administered VMS. This is control without ownership.
Here, coordination is achieved through the sheer size, market dominance, and economic power of one member who acts as the channel captain.
So think of dominant brands like Kodak Film, Gillette razor blades, Campbell Soup.
Exactly. When Gillette walks into a store, they don't politely request a display. They command strong reseller support and shelf space because retailers know the massive sales volume Gillette represents. The retailer follows the captain's lead because it's financially beneficial.
And finally, the most common and complex structure, the contractual VMS.
This involves independent firms at different levels integrating their programs via contract. They form value-adding partnerships to achieve economies or impact they couldn't get alone.
And the most significant and rapidly growing category here is the franchise organization.
We see manufacturer-sponsored retailer franchises like Ford dealers, but the explosive growth is really in the service firm-sponsored retailer franchises, like McDonald's, Hertz, or various hotel chains.
Moving on, since very few firms rely on just one system, we have to address multi-channel integration. Coach, for instance, uses owned retail stores, department stores, wholesalers, licensing partnerships, all at the same time.
And multi-channel systems, despite the conflict risk, offer powerful benefits. First, increase market coverage. You reach more segments, and often multi-channel customers are the most profitable.
Second, lower channel cost. You can reserve expensive personal selling for high-value accounts and use cheaper channels, like the web, for simple transactions.
And third, more customized selling. You can match the complexity of the sale with the appropriate channel, using a technical sales force for complex equipment versus a simple retail outlet for accessories.
To manage this complexity, the sources advocate using the hybrid grid as a planning tool.
It's a great tool. This grid aligns the various channels in the rows with the critical channel tasks in the columns: lead generation, closing the sale, servicing, and so on.
And the grid forces the organization to define, often brutally, which channel is responsible for which task.
Right. It optimizes coverage and minimizes role conflict. For example, instead of a costly salesperson handling everything, the grid might dictate that a cheaper telemarketing team is responsible for lead generation, and the costly sales force is reserved exclusively for the high-leverage task of closing the sale.
This architectural mapping minimizes cost and conflict by eliminating ambiguity.
But even with the best planning, channel conflict is inevitable. Conflict occurs when one channel member's actions prevent another from achieving its goals.
And we can break this down into 3 types. Horizontal channel conflict.
This happens between firms at the same level, rival Pizza Inn franchisees complaining that others are cutting corners on ingredients, which hurts the brand's overall reputation.
Then vertical channel conflict between different levels.
Right. Say, a manufacturer deciding to sell direct online. When Estee Lauder set up a website to sell its Clinique brands, the department store Dayton Hudson retaliated by immediately reducing the floor space allocated to all Estee Lauder products.
Ouch. And the most complex today, multi-channel conflict.
This happens when 2 or more channels sell to the same market, often when one channel operates at a lower price.
The Goodyear case study is a classic illustration of this.
It's perfect. When Goodyear began selling its popular tire brands through mass-market outlets like Sears and Walmart, it provoked outrage among its longtime high-service independent dealers.
They saw their core market being stolen by low-price competitors. How did Goodyear manage that existential threat to their partners?
They employed a strategy known as strategic justification. Goodyear placated the independent dealers by granting them the rights to sell exclusive tire models that were never made available in the mass market outlets.
So they segmented the market by product variant.
Exactly. It allowed both channels to coexist without direct, destructive competition for the exact same product.
That is a brilliant solution. Let's look quickly at the common causes of conflict beyond just unclear roles.
Goal incompatibility is primary. The manufacturer may want rapid market penetration with low dealer margins, while the dealer prioritizes long-term stability and high margins on lower volume.
We also see differences in perception. A manufacturer might be optimistic about the next quarter, and demand dealers increase inventory.
While the dealer, seeing a local economic downturn, is pessimistic and refuses to comply.
And finally, high dependence on the manufacturer. If a dealer sells an exclusive product, they have little control over their own destiny.
So, since we can't eliminate conflict, we have to coordinate. The sources provide several formal strategies for conflict resolution.
Beyond the strategic justification we saw with Goodyear, there's dual compensation.
Right. When Allstate Insurance launched its online channel, agents worried about losing commissions.
So Allstate mitigated this by paying agents a 2% commission for servicing sales that originated online, even though their standard commission was 10%.
It was a minimal financial concession that yielded massive channel stability.
We can also use superordinate goals, focusing the entire system on a unifying objective, like customer satisfaction or survival, against a major competitor.
Which forces internal factions to cooperate. And then there's co-optation, where one organization wins support by including another's leaders in advisory councils or on boards.
And when all else fails.
You move to formal diplomacy, mediation, arbitration, or the final step, legal recourse. We saw this when a group of Coca-Cola bottlers sued the company after it began distributing Powerade directly to Walmart, undermining their traditional duties.
It's also crucial to remember the legal and ethical issues that constrain producers.
Right. A producer is limited in using exclusionary tactics. Exclusive dealing requiring a dealer not to handle competitor products is legal only if it doesn't substantially lessen competition.
And tying agreements like full-line forcing, where a producer sells a strong brand only if the dealer takes the rest of the less desirable product line, are illegal if they're found to substantially lessen competition. For our final part of this deep dive, let's turn to the accelerating pace of channel disruption, the digital future. We start with the established landscape of e-commerce.
E-commerce involves using a website to transact or facilitate the sale of products and services online. We can categorize the companies into 2 main types based on their legacy.
Okay, first, pure-click companies.
These are the firms that launched a website without any prior physical existence, like search engines, commerce sites like buy.com, or content sites.
And second, the critical group, the break-and-click companies.
Existing firms that added an online channel, like P&G selling Tide online, often initially just to study customer behavior and gather competitive intelligence before they really scale up sales.
Success in BDC e-commerce, though, is tricky. The conversion rate, the percentage of visits that lead to a sale, is surprisingly low.
Yeah, often only 2 to 3% compared to about 5% for visits to a physical department store.
Why the disparity? We often assume the web is optimized for sales.
Well, the cited inhibitors are crucial. The absence of pleasurable experiences or social interaction, which many shoppers crave.
And the ever-present security and privacy concerns.
Right. Retailers are addressing this by implementing solutions like live online chat for immediate advice and the use of avatars.
Graphical representations of virtual characters that act as personal shopping assistants.
Exactly. If an avatar is perceived as attractive, friendly, or a domain expert, it can significantly enhance the effectiveness of the web-based channel by simulating some of that social experience that's lost online.
But while B2C gets the media attention, the largest and most profound activity is happening in B2B e-commerce, business to business.
B2B sites are fundamentally driving price transparency for undifferentiated products, forcing suppliers to focus relentlessly on cost efficiency.
And this shift in transparency is driven by the ease of access to information. Buyers can now instantly cross-reference prices from supplier sites, intermediaries.
And market makers that link massive numbers of buyers and sellers. And the ultimate example of this, defining B2B globally, is Alibaba, founded by Jack Ma.
It grew to be the world's largest online B2B marketplace, hosting millions of virtual shop fronts.
But what's fascinating about Alibaba is that they weren't just a technology platform, they were a trust platform.
Which is particularly necessary for cross-border trade. So how do they overcome that primary barrier of trust when you're dealing with suppliers across vast distances?
They established the TrustPass system. To join, users pay a fee for third-party verification. They have to present their business licenses, and crucially, must have at least 5 people vouch for them.
And anyone who has done business with that user is encouraged to post comments and feedback on the firm's page, kind of like eBay.
It creates a self-regulating, transparent system of accountability. Printing TrustPass on your business cards became an instant signal of credibility in the global marketplace.
It enabled transactions that otherwise would have been impossible.
Absolutely. This transparency has fundamentally changed the power dynamic in B2B, cementing the idea that for undifferentiated products, the channel will relentlessly seek the lowest cost.
So the final challenge for existing firms remains brick-and-click channel integration, managing that unavoidable conflict with your existing dealer base when you launch an online storefront.
Harley-Davidson faced this when they decided to sell their, $860 million inventory of parts and accessories online.
They needed the revenue and the channel reach, but they could not afford to antagonize their fiercely loyal network of independent dealers.
So their solution became the gold standard for partner respect. They required any customer ordering accessories online to select a local participating Harley-Davidson dealer before the purchase was finalized.
That dealer then receives the order notification for fulfillment and collection.
The dealer maintains their central role in the customer experience, ensures the high-touch servicing required by the brand, and, most importantly, gets a piece of the revenue, maintaining their commitment.
The final frontier in digital channels is m-commerce, the mobile channel. The sources note the rapid shift. There are now more mobile phones than PCs.
And smartphone sales were forecast to quickly exceed regular phone sales. The channel is moving into the customer's pocket.
The mobile channel is defined by its ability to leverage location-based services and provide instantaneous interaction. Dunkin' Donuts provided an exceptional example of optimizing this channel for their target customer.
The busy individual who runs on Dunkin', their Dunkin' Run mobile campaign focused on solving a specific pain point, consolidating group orders efficiently.
They introduced an iPhone app that allowed a customer planning a Dunkin' run to send interactive alerts to friends or coworkers,
inviting them to place their specific coffee and donut orders online. The app then consolidated all the individual orders into a single, efficient request for the runner.
It created a seamless social group ordering experience that perfectly leveraged the mobile device's capacity for quick, interactive communication.
And the campaign was highly successful. It reinforced their brand promise of speed and convenience, and it built on earlier strong results from a simple SMS campaign in Italy that had increased sales by nearly 10%.
But this incredible power, specifically location-based services using GPS, brings us to a critical note of caution.
The ability to pinpoint a customer or an employee's real-time location is incredibly sensitive. While it's commercially beneficial, the potential for privacy breaches and misuse warrants careful public scrutiny and necessary regulation as this channel rapidly expands.
So let's synthesize what we've deep dived into today. Channels are not merely logistics, they are the fundamental architecture of value delivery.
and they represent 30 to 50% of a product's final price. Getting the design right is simply non-negotiable for success.
The entire field, it seems, boils down to a fundamental strategic tension: control versus reach.
Right. Do you prioritize the absolute corporate control you find in a corporate VMS like Sherwin-Williams, where you own every touch point?
Or do you prioritize massive, decentralized reach and efficiency by relying on sophisticated, motivated partners, like we saw with SDIHL's selective distribution?
Designing these systems means a rigorous analysis of customer expectations, those 5 service outputs like lot size and spatial convenience, and ruthlessly balancing those desired outputs against the necessary channel costs.
Using tools like break-even analysis to ensure financial viability.
And from Netflix disrupting Blockbuster's punitive late fees with technical curation to Dell suffering a crisis because their efficiency metrics destroyed customer service.
The consistent lesson is that channel structure must constantly evolve in response to technological disruption and shifting customer behaviors.
While strategically managing the inevitable conflicts this change provokes.
Which brings us to the final provocative thought for you to explore on your own. The source material warns that channel commitments, especially long-term partnerships, inevitably reduce a producer's ability to respond to change and uncertainty.
Yet, flexibility is paramount in a market driven by m-commerce and instantaneous digital shifts.
So how do companies that rely heavily on specialized localized partners, like Harley-Davidson and its independent dealer network, or the Cleveland Clinic with its geographically sprawling medical network, maintain enough agility and flexibility in their channel structure to adapt to these rapid, platform-driven changes without provoking a partner revolt or sacrificing those valuable long-term relationships they have built?
It's the ultimate balancing act between stability and agility in the modern value network.